The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Don't adjust your screen. There is nothing wrong. You're about to enter a world where the very concept of time is rendered obsolete by the sheer power of entertainment. You're about to enter the Boggis Hour. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from an undisclosed location deep in the heart of the Gate City, the host of the Boggis Hour, Greg Boggis!
Welcome to this episode of The Boggis Hour. I'm very excited to have as my special guest, Scott Severance. He's an actor, director, playwright, producer, and we also have a special musical performance by Rosemarie Rose and her friend Paul. Scott Severance.
Yes.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Talking to each other again.
Yes, indeed. I'm glad. Thanks for having me.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself. We've worked together over the years, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Yep. But why don't you tell us about yourself and where you came from and how you got into acting?
Born and raised in New Hampshire.
Hey.
Yeah, there are a few of us. My story is a sad one, actually. When I was 9, 10 years old, my parents divorced, and we moved to a new community, and I skipped a grade, got double promoted from 3rd to 5th grade, all in the same calendar year. So I was messed up. My feeling about family and friends was completely schismed, and I was a lonely, sad little buck-toothed glasses,
Latchkey kid.
sad little boy.
Yeah.
Rife for some sort of deviant place to find yourself. And my deviance turned into being comedy. My thought process was very simply, and I remember thinking about this as a kid, if I'm funny, people will either like me, or at least it will feel like they like me, which I needed desperately, or they'll leave me alone. I was getting beat up pretty regularly on the playground by the bullies, and there was one moment that sort of where everything turned, where Bully A was coming at me for the annual let's slap him around a little thing, and Bully B came up and said, "Hey, leave that kid alone. He's all right," because I had made Bully B laugh in the cafeteria or something.
You won him over.
So humor becomes a weapon, a defense mechanism, and as an adult, I save a lot of money in therapy because theater is my therapy.
Right. Yeah, the ability to, a lot of people don't have that skill, but the ability to make people laugh is a very strong, useful thing.
It's huge.
Everybody likes to laugh.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that you do learn early on as a kid.
And even, it was a PBS special long ago. I want to say even Billy Crystal hosted it, but something about the great Jewish comics, all of them that I completely admired as a kid. Chaplin and Burl and all of those brilliant, clever guys, that out of pain comes humor. And so there's that sort of generic thing that who knows more sorrow and suffering than the Jewish race. So there's why there's so many great Jewish comics now. So I have my own little story. As out of my sadness came the funny. And it matters to me.
Sure.
Deeply to be funny. I'm not telling jokes just because I think how clever I am. I'm telling jokes because I have to.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you said. It really does save you money on therapy.
Yeah, sure does. It sure does.
It really is a cathartic thing to be able to laugh and to be able to make other people laugh. It's a very powerful.
I like nothing better. My favorite sound on the planet is actually the laughter of children.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I taught middle school for 6 years. I ran the Peacock Players in Nashua for 6 years. I've worked with kids a lot, and to make a room full of children honestly belly laugh,
that's a pretty magical thing.
Just gets me. It gets me. Still love to do it today.
So you had this talent early on, and
Yeah.
that pushed you into actual theater in
Yeah,
school.
I went to UNH. I went to
So,
Pittsfield High School.
Okay.
And Durham was what, half an hour, 35, 40 minutes from
Very
there.
close.
I didn't go far because I was afraid of going anywhere. I finished second in my class. I was a smart kid. Could have apparently pursued whatever I wanted anywhere I wanted. But went to UNH as that's close to home and I'm comfortable there. I didn't declare a theater major until late in my sophomore year.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't really do a lot of shows until I got to school. Then when I got to UNH, I was kind of a big man on campus theater jock. I was in everything. A lot of people knew who I was, and I was kind of a pompous jerk. As I actually, because I had gotten double promoted, I turned 17 my freshman year in college.
Oh, wow. So
I
you were young.
I shouldn't have been there.
Wow.
So, and all the things that you can imagine about going to college in the 70s.
Break out the list.
We're surprised we're still sitting here today. But yeah, that's where I really developed my love of what I was doing and started to figure out that there was a craft to it.
Which a lot of people don't realize that theater and acting and comedy and all that. It looks like this organic thing, and
Yeah.
a lot of people don't realize that there's a lot behind
Totally.
that whole process.
My family never did and still doesn't understand how hard it is that I work and how many hours I put in.
Sure.
Even though I'm not working a 9-to-5 job and I'm not, lugging bales of hay, or I mean, it's hard work. It's you have to be constantly observing, constantly aware, so that you can find human behavior that you can then mimic and use. And you have to be up on pop culture. You have to be topical. You got to be smart.
All of those things.
Yeah. My mom, God rest her soul, honey, you were so smart. You could have been anything. Why did you pick this? I said, Mom, if I'm any good at this, it's because I'm smart.
Sure.
But
So what was your most memorable play in college?
long story short, but I had made a great collegiate error in judgment, and I was sort of going to leave the department. I was going to change majors. I had made a large mistake in life, and the chair of the department at that time, Dr. David Magidson, called me, and I was holed up in the fraternity I was living in. I wouldn't come out. I wasn't going to classes. I wasn't seeing anybody because I had done a pretty embarrassing thing. And he calls me, and I remember walking across campus with sunglasses on and my head down in case anyone recognized me. I get in his office. He was a great man. And he looks at me kind of quizzically, and he goes, "What the hell did you do that for?" And then I laughed, and then I cried. And I told him that I was probably going to be leaving the department and, changing majors at least, or leaving school. And he told me not to do that. He said, the universities frequently design their program around the students that are in the program.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not going to do, for example, he didn't use this example, but we're not going to do Evita unless we know we've got a kid that can play Eva Peron. That's just silly to do a show where you don't have the talent to do it. Even though it's an educational institution, they're still trying to sell tickets, still trying to promote the program, blah, blah, blah. And they were doing a show called Scapino, which is high energy farce. It's a Moliere.
That explains.
And Les Fourberies du Scapin is the title. And they had, apparently, he admitted to me, they had sort of internally nudged Severance could do the role. But I've always instinctively had a clown's energy and a clown's buoyancy, and I can do stuff, physical stuff that you wouldn't think a guy my size could do, and it's always served me well. Back in college, I wasn't like this. I've added a few pounds over the years, but anyway,
hands of time.
But came back, auditioned for the play, got the role. Was very nervous walking in because everyone knew that, oh, that's the guy who did that thing. And I won an Irene Ryan Acting Award nomination for the role, which they still do Irene Ryan Awards in college. When the show was over and I got back into the comfort of my own room, when I shook the cobwebs out of my head,
Yeah.
is what the hell just happened? I had redeemed myself, and I'd gotten back on track. And as I say, I was too young.
Found your direction again.
Yeah, I was too
basically.
young to be in college. I was making dumb mistakes, and
Well, I mean, that's the hallmark of being a guy that age.
yeah. Well, and it's also what I firmly believe about the acting process is make mistakes. Be bold and brave enough to make really huge, ridiculous mistakes.
Sure.
That's how you learn to stop doing those. If you do little subtle things, or I always say to actors when I direct, I'm looking for you to give me 12 so I can scale you back to 10. If all you got is 7, we have a problem because I'm pulling you up to 10.
Right.
So I've always been either stubborn enough or the clown instinct enough to just go with it and not be afraid to look like a fool. And frequently that's exactly what you want.
That's definitely what you need. There's the being able to let yourself be laughed at.
Yeah.
People say, "Oh, they're laughing with you." I'm like, no, sometimes they literally are laughing at you.
And
but
you don't
that's what
take that-
that's
right.
what you're trying to get.
You're not taking that
You're trying to
seriously.
get that out of them,
I don't
you know?
think you take it personally. If I made a fool of myself and you laugh, that's the whole point, right? So
That's the buffoon and the jester. So you get out of college.
I get out of college. I still don't have my degree to this day.
Aha.
I was on the John Belushi 7-year plan from
Oh
Animal
yeah,
House.
sure. Which a lot of people don't know was modeled after a guy from Dartmouth.
Yeah.
So
The frat was modeled directly after. I don't know what the name of the frat was in Dartmouth, but Animal House came out as a side when I was in college.
oh yeah, so that must have been. I imagine that must have been the band
I
of so
knew
many
all
college
those guys.
administrations.
You know, in fact, I've got the movie poster on the wall of my house at home.
College.
Yeah, college.
And the motto from Faber College was, do you remember?
Knowledge is good.
Knowledge is good.
Nice, nicely done. And I went off and got work and got points towards my equity card membership. In my mid-20s, I became.
And that was in theater.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the my mid-20s, I became a member of Actors Equity. Did a lot of work at the Palace in Manchester. Did a lot of work at Theater by the Sea in Portsmouth, which is where Seacoast Rep is now.
Oh, okay.
Got my equity card in a production of Equus, poetically enough, and just kept working at it and doing gigs in between theater jobs for a long time. Did a lot of work in Boston as an actor. Any touring I've done in the United States is because of work I've done as a performer. And that, you lose a couple relationships along the way because, the theater is my mistress, always has been, can't help it. She tells me what to do, and
Yeah.
then I do it.
Yeah, it's the same. I mean, it's a peculiar lifestyle.
Yep.
It's the times are much different than standard families.
Yep.
Just like stand-up comedy. You're working weekends. You're up late nights.
And you're doing other jobs too in
Yeah.
between what feeds your soul. And so that sort of moth to the flame mentality got to me when I got to be in my early 50s, and I had an opportunity to take a full-time job in the theater, which is where I am now. I'm the producing artistic director up at Jean's Playhouse in Lincoln, New Hampshire. I run the theater.
Beautiful little theater.
Yeah, it's a great place, and it's a full-time job in the theater. I had just grown weary of okay, this gig is over, now what? And as recently as 3 years ago, I was delivering pizzas between theater jobs, and I'm not ashamed of it, not
Sure.
proud of it. You do what you have to do to survive, but now I'm.
Would you do a little Shakespeare as your?
No, I think most of the people who ordered pizzas wouldn't understand. I prithee, my lord, your pepperoni pie. You'd get it. And then, where we met in 2004, I got my SAG membership. As Actors Equity is the theater union membership, and SAG is the movies.
Screen Actors.
And now SAG and AFTRA have combined, so it's screen and television. I'm still SAG. I'm not Equity.
So the movie we met on together was called Fever Pitch.
Yep.
It was Jimmy Fallon, Drew Barrymore were starring in it, and it was done by the Farrelly brothers,
Yes.
who were known for
Yep.
a number of comedies.
I have no idea how I got the role. I had
Your
auditioned.
name, character's name?
Artie.
Artie.
I had auditioned a lot for films around the Boston area at the time, but getting called in. I'm a character actor. I'm a funny guy. And I walked into this audition, and I walked in, and there were 50 of me. I looked around and went, how the heck are they going to tell? Because they were looking for the Red Sox fan. The guy, he's a little overweight. He's a little acerbic. He's grumpy. His team never wins. He's got a sense of humor. But I remember when I did the audition, one of the monologues was about when they took Pedro out too early, and I actually got a tear in my eye, and the gal behind the camera went, "Are you crying?" I said, "Yeah, sorry." And I don't know if that realism is what got it or not, because I really am a Red Sox junkie.
Sure.
So we got to spend 10 days roaming around Fenway Park.
That was awesome.
In 04.
And the beauty and the tragedy of the movie is the whole premise of the movie was that the Red Sox
Right.
are these perennial losers. As they're filming this
Right.
movie,
Right.
they go on and have this magical season.
The story apparently is.
So the whole premise is totally
The Fairleys
dashed.
were in Toronto. They filmed the Boston scenes first, and they'd gone to Toronto at the time because it was tough to film in Massachusetts because they hadn't passed a legislation about making it easy to film. So they're up in Toronto. It's Game 4 of the World Series against St. Louis, and they looked at each other and went, "These bastards are going to wreck our film. They're going to ruin the movie." So they got in a single-engine plane with Jimmy and Drew and a single cameraman, and got permission to fly to St. Louis. 20th Century Fox was the production company of the movie, and Fox Television had the World Series. So they got permission to get on the field at the end of the game. And I'm sitting at home weeping openly. The Red Sox just won the World Series. And then I see a shot of Jimmy Fallon and Drew Barrymore kissing on the pitcher's mound. And I go, what the hell is that? How did those lucky... And then I went, oh, I'm going to get a phone call soon. And sure enough, within 3 or 4 days... we need to refilm the entire end of the movie as if it took place during that legendary Yankee series. Right. So we're back in Fenway in November trying to pretend it's summertime. Hilarious. Everybody's in parkas, freezing to death. I don't know how they did they digitally or just took out because you had to see people's breath. We were filming overnight in the frozen tundra of Fenway.
Yeah, with inflatable dolls and the
Oh,
bleachers.
it was hilarious. Hilarious time. Great time.
So yeah, that was fun. That was an interesting time. And then you went on to play King Arthur.
Yes, I played
And
Arthur.
to me, that is.
Lost Summer.
I mean, every young guy, in the past, I don't know, however many 40 years, has watched Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and has just loved it. It's just one of those things that, gosh, if you like that kind of humor, it
and
sure as
I
hell
do.
hits you. And yeah, so I mean, there seems like there's a certain number of guys in that generation that humor, that British humor, and it was all brought. A lot of it was brought by PBS, and it just really, really struck a chord.
Yeah, and the thing about Python is it's not as burnt as Benny Hill or that sort of lower brow yuck English comedy. It's very cerebral. Some of their stuff is you got to have a college education to understand some of the jokes that they're doing. But part of what's fun about my job now is I get to pick the shows. As the artistic director, I'm the one who chooses the material, who books the acts, who that I think people are going to come and see. And last summer, Spamalot was a big hit. We had people coming back to see it more than once in its run. We had a lot of fun doing it, and so it was happy circumstance for me as an actor. I got to go out there and clown around.
Can you give me a good line?
No, I can't because you just put me on the spot. Although there are thousands
There's
of
1,000 lines.
You don't vote for king. How'd you get to be king? I didn't vote for you. I'll tell you.
Stop! He's oppressing me.
Yeah.
So that's at Gene's Playhouse, and you got some great. You're working on a play in Nashua.
Yep, I'm directing All Shook Up. Talk about from Monty Python to Elvis. He's versatile, that guy, for Stagecoach Productions. And if people want to get in touch with me.
With you.
They can email me directly. My email is cardboard belt, as in the line from the producers, "Look at me, I'm wearing a cardboard belt." That's another role on my bucket list. I gotta play Bialystok before I die. Cardboardbelt@comcast.net is my personal email. So if you want to send me condolences for my career, you can feel free to do that.
Well, Scott Severance, it was great talking to you.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks a lot, my friend.
Thanks,
and
buddy.
we'll be looking forward to seeing your plays and
I'll see
seeing
you.
you up at the Jean's Playhouse.
Yes,
soon.
sir. Okay.
Many years spent asking questions, answers always changing, celebrating victory, learned more from defeat, never been afraid to try. Energy spent after giving all. And here in the stillness, constantly, patiently waiting all the while, is love. All I needed was surrender to make my peace with love. Love is here, a revelation. Made my peace with love. Love is enough to banish the fear. It's the pain of losing, not love we fear. Can we hold it? Can we keep it? Turn our winter into spring. Life, you're not through with me. Love, you're my companion. In the light, fear has disappeared. Freedom, sweet freedom, from control and fear. All I needed was surrender to make my peace with love. Love is here, a revelation. Made my peace with love. Made my peace with love.
Well, thank you very much, Rosemarie and Paul. Very excited to have you on the show, and that was a wonderful performance by the both of you.
Thank you.
First, I would like to start off by asking you a most important question is, which one of those two songs was inspired by me?
Very good question. Do we have an answer?
So I'd like to start out talking to you, Rosemarie, about when did you start singing?
Oh, my goodness. Professionally in clubs in 1981.
So you've been doing it some time.
I have, but I've taken some breaks and re-educated myself, and I went back to school to learn how to use music and therapy and
you do that for
medical settings in hospitals and hospice.
and that's to help people
Yes.
in their recovery.
Yes.
That's a great thing to do. Who are your musical inspirations?
Well, I would have to say Sade, Annie Lennox.
Oh, everybody loves Annie. She's a great
Yes,
performer.
Joan Armatrading and Tracy Thorne of Everything But the Girl.
Nice. And Paul, you've been performing for some time also.
A similar realm to Rosemarie, maybe even a little longer. I don't want to admit how much. But yeah, I've been enjoying playing music through many years, and I'm really lucky to have met Rosemarie more recently in the last few.
Where did you meet?
We met at a party.
Yes.
We both remember the party we met at. Yeah, it was a good friend of ours.
Yes, a community building series party.
Oh,
Yes.
great.
And we were lucky that we both happened to be there at this party, and we got into a very long conversation about music and sound healing and all kinds of things, and then that was the beginning.
Yes.
So it was great.
So that was two original pieces of music
Yes.
that was written by the two of you.
Yes.
So how does that process come about?
Well, originally he had produced some words that I thought I needed some tweaking, so we did that, and then we kind of came up with a melody together. And then as the words changed, the chords needed to change to follow. So it kind of evolved.
I would give much stronger emphasis on Rosemarie's excellent wordsmithing. Really, she made this lyrically what it is, and I appreciate that very much. So I'm working with her on the how to just bring her concepts into a musical form. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a long process. It's funny because as a stand-up comic, and it's a really, for the most part, it's a very short thing for the most part. You know, a quick setup and a quick punch. Whereas music is this, you know, it's this long story, and then you've got to do the lyrics and the music, and it seems like it's such a long process that I wouldn't have the patience for it.
We've spent a lot of hours. It's been fun, though.
Let's see. So where are you going to be playing?
Well, the next date we have is in Beverly, May 29th at E.J. Cabot's.
E.J. Cabot's in Beverly, Massachusetts.
Yes, Beverly, Massachusetts.
All right. And let's see here. And we can find you online?
You can reach us to book us at rosemarysoulfulmusic@gmail.com.
All right. So now here's the thing that I always like to ask people: what do you consider your best performance?
In regards to,
Well, what was your best, most memorable place that you performed?
oh my goodness.
There's probably a lot, but maybe you can give me a couple.
Oh, I don't know. You go first.
Well, I have some right that come to mind.
Sure.
We were very lucky to be invited to play during the Halloween festival in Salem, Massachusetts.
Oh, which is a crazy time.
Crazy time.
Yes.
So we got to go to the outdoor stage. I don't know if you've been there, by the Peabody Museum.
Oh yeah.
And big crowd, a lot
Everybody's
of energy.
dressed up.
And that was and we got in costumes. So Rosemarie had, what were you wearing? Like a witch hat or something?
Red masquerade mask.
Oh yes, and she makes a wicked good witch, and I had like a cape on, and we had a lot of fun that day.
Yes, we did.
Great.
So I have to put that pretty high up.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah,
No,
I
you're
appreciate that
artsy
very
folks,
much.
and you like bringing joy into people's lives, and
Yeah.
and singing and music is a great way to do that.
Yes, it is.
And I mean the hospice work that Rosemarie does is worth mentioning. In the
And how
same vein.
long have you done that for?
Since 2003.
Wow. And what inspired you to do that? Was there a particular incident that happened? Was there a thing that?
No, it's a combination of things. I also had a background in the medical field, and I also had my love for music, and I was trying to find a way to put the two together. And then I learned about this program, and I decided that I would get involved and
You ran with
started
it.
that process.
And so you've been doing it since 2003. Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate the both of you coming out. This was a wonderful event, and I hope to see you again. I'd like to come see you live, perform live.
That'd be wonderful.
And yeah, that would be
Really great.
Maybe you could have a comedian open up for you.
All right.
Thank you so much.
I think we just did.
Really fun, yeah.
Yeah, and hope to have you back again. And,
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Appreciate it very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fred.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.